Hey there, welcome to another episode of Theology on the Road. I am your host and chauffeur, Steve Schramm. It's been a few days since I've been able to get back with you and update you all on what's been going on, but I am pleased to be back in the driver's seat, literally, and come to you with some truth for today. And speaking of truth, today's podcast episode is going to be a little different and pretty short. I am simply wanting to announce something that I've been working on for a long time, and hopefully you will appreciate this and perhaps take advantage of it. I started my blog over at steveschramm.com in April, I believe it was April of 2017, and that's when I started writing about theology, apologetics, science, philosophy, things of that I found interesting as it related to the truth of Christianity. And late that year, I decided that I would like to write a book. Now, at this point, I've got a list of books that I would like to write. And I discovered through the process of writing my first book just what all goes into it. And it sure is a lot. So I highly doubt that I will end up writing the amount of books in my life that some version of me wants to put out there. But nevertheless, I am very excited to announce that I have finally, after 2 years of working on it, made my first book available for sale. It's called Truth Be Told, and it is a introduction to apologetics that is really framed as sort of an open letter to the movement of Christianity. It's not really a denomination because it's by definition not a denomination other than Baptist. We are Baptist, but we are independent Baptist. That is, each church is under its own local authority. So there's no governing body. It's not like the SBC or the or any other kind of denominational gathering. It's not like that at all. These churches are characteristically, they are very similar, although there are differences from church to church, usually more minor differences in preference on preferential issues, some theological differences, but mostly you have a consistent theology with some preferential differences strewn throughout the different camps of the movement, I guess you'd say. So I grew up independent Baptist my entire life, and I still hold theologically pretty much to everything that I was raised to believe. I have challenged those things, those assumptions, and I've looked at the different options on most of those things, and I still land exactly where I always have. So I noticed some trends in that movement that unfortunately have made it to where a lot of them tend to be skeptical of writings that are produced by people written outside of the movement. And that's just kind of the reality of the situation is many independent Baptists are not encouraged to seek truth and are instead encouraged to simply believe what the pastor says. And that's unfortunate. Not that there's anything wrong with trusting what your pastor says. I certainly don't want to produce skepticism towards your pastor. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that there ought to be a deep love for the study of God, for theology, for understanding the Bible, for being able to persuade others. And one of the tragic ironies that I noticed when kind of looking from the outside in at my movement after having read more widely for a little while and being introduced to many more perspectives than most independent Baptists will be throughout the lifetime of their Christian experience, what I started to realize is that we are very, very fervent on our desire to see souls saved. So independent Baptists have characteristically been extremely interested in winning souls, in bringing the gospel to people, in personal evangelism, and we've even been very innovative over the years in ways that this has happened. Bus ministries, radio ministries, things of that nature. The independent Baptists, historically speaking, were some of the most innovative groups of Christians over the years to be able to get the message out. And as I look at us today as a whole, there is not that interest in deeper theological learning and understanding the Bible for oneself, in being able to persuade those that we come in contact with to believe the gospel. And so while we are fervent in our desire to share the gospel, and even will put our boots on the ground to make it happen, we're not, generally speaking, equipped properly to make that happen. We're not equipped to answer the objections of those who are skeptical. We're not equipped to speak to those questions that people have when we start asking them to consider the existence of God and the impact that would have on someone's life. So that is why I wrote the book, Truth Be Told. And this book is just meant to simply speak the language of independent Baptists. And all I mean by that is that I wanted some of the best information from across varying perspectives to come from a friendly, so to speak, right? Somebody who already is persuaded that what they believe is true, and that this is the best way of thinking. So I'm not necessarily challenging anything theologically that an independent Baptist believes by reading this book. Rather, I am starting from that foundation, saying, okay, here, we agree on these things. Now let's understand some things about the world, about reality, and about other ways that people think about reality, to learn how that we can respond appropriately. So that's my heart behind this book. You can get it on Amazon. I don't have a direct link for you right now, but what we'll do is I will create that, so you can't get to it if you're listening to this immediately, but here soon you should be able to go to steveschramm.com/truthbetoldbook. steveschramm.com/truthbetoldbook, and that will take you directly to the link where you can purchase a copy. Now, this is written to independent Baptists, but only one chapter has a more extended discussion in the introduction of the chapter directed really towards the independent Baptists. Throughout, the book is really more of a general introduction to apologetics, a very lay introduction to apologetics. It begins with making a case for truth, and then talks about, it's split up into 4 parts. The first part is all about what apologetics is and why do it. The second part is about the origins debate, kind of starting at the very beginning. The third part of the book is about practical foundations, about really understanding the practical things that we need in order to think about the truth of the Bible and what it means for our story. And then the final chapter deals with questions of suffering and pain and the existence of God, and how to communicate really to a lost and dying world. So we talk about methodology, we talk about reasons for doing apologetics, we talk about all of the basic things that you need to. It's a little over 300 pages, I think, counting all the references. There are tons of endnotes for future learning and things of that nature if you'd like to dive in to learn more about the different topics that are there. We might address something in a sentence throughout the main body that is addressed further in paragraphs. in the end notes of the book. So I would encourage you, again, there's lots to learn inside of there. So stevesram.com/truthbetoldbook, and you can pick up a copy today. Again, you don't have to be an independent Baptist to read this book. Many of you might not even know what an independent Baptist thinks or believes, and there's different ways of thinking about what they think and believe. So I would rather not be stereotyped along those lines. If you think you might be interested in learning about ways to think about apologetics from a more, or really written towards a lay perspective, then I think you would appreciate this book, stevesram.com/truthbetoldbook, and I'm looking forward to having you read it and give me your thoughts. I'd love for you to read it, give me an Amazon review. Those really, really help people to find the books on there and get this message out to more people. So God bless you. I love you, and we'll talk soon.